Tira walked slowly down the crowded streets of Xylar City, her two small children clinging to her hands. The sky above the bustling metropolis was a swirl of purple and orange, the result of the twin suns setting over the horizon. Flying vehicles zipped past overhead, leaving trails of light in their wake. The air smelled faintly of ozone and exotic spices from the street markets below. Despite the beauty surrounding her, Tira felt none of it. Her stomach churned with worry, her mind weighed down by the constant pressure of survival. She was a Xitherian, a species known for sharp minds and long lives. But intelligence alone was no shield against poverty or prejudice. In Xylar, being single and a parent often meant doors remained closed. Job interviews were short and cold, frequently ending with polite refusals or outright dismissals. Today had been no different. After walking several blocks, Tira reached a small market stall run by a Xitherian elder, who looked at her with sympathetic eyes. "Tira, my dear," the elder said softly, "I'm sorry. There's no work here today, and I know you've been searching all week." Tira forced a smile. "It's fine," she said, though her voice betrayed her exhaustion. "We'll manage." Her children, small and bright-eyed, tugged at her cloak. "Mama, are we going to eat tonight?" her youngest asked, voice trembling slightly. Tira knelt down and looked at them. Their scales shimmered faintly in the light of the setting suns, a reminder of their Xitherian heritage. "Yes, my little ones," she said firmly. "We'll eat. Somehow we'll always find a way." Despite her words, Tira felt the familiar panic rising in her chest. Finding work was impossible, at least work that could support a family. Many businesses preferred experienced professionals or those with connections, neither of which Tira had. Being a single mother made her an outsider in a society that valued stability above all else. She remembered her early years vividly. She had once dreamed of a career in bioengineering, but when her partner left without warning, her world had shifted. She had devoted herself entirely to raising her children, putting her own dreams on hold. Now, with bills piling up and hope dwindling, she felt trapped in a cycle that seemed impossible to break. As she turned a corner, Tira noticed a group of humans moving through the street. Humans were rare in Xylar City, usually traders or explorers. They moved differently from Xitherians, more open, more confident in the way they interacted with their surroundings. Tira observed them quietly. One human, taller than the others, helped a small alien child who had tripped over a market stand. The child's parent looked relieved and the human smiled warmly. Tira felt a spark of curiosity. Humans were often underestimated by Xitherians, seen as primitive or impulsive. Yet every encounter she had witnessed recently suggested otherwise. They seemed fearless, creative, and determined. Perhaps, she thought, there was more to them than her society admitted. The city lights began to flicker as dusk turned into night. Energy shortages had become common in this part of Xylar, and many districts relied on intermittent power. Tira's home, a small apartment in a crowded building, was cold and dimly lit. Her children huddled together on a worn mat, waiting for her to return. She entered the apartment carrying a few meager supplies she had managed to gather from the market. "Mother," her older child exclaimed, "did you find work today?" Tira shook her head, a heavy sigh escaping her lips. "No, my dear," she said softly, "but we are safe and we have each other. That is what matters for now." Her children looked disappointed, but they trusted her. She brushed her hand over their heads, feeling the soft texture of their scales. Despite the hardships, they had kept her grounded. They were the reason she continued to hope, the reason she refused to give up. That night, as she lay awake on the hard floor, Tira thought about the humans she had seen. She remembered how that tall human had helped the child without hesitation. Something about the way he acted without fear or judgment had left an impression. Perhaps humans could offer a different perspective, a way to survive in a world that had grown so harsh. The next morning, Tira awoke early. She moved quietly so as not to disturb her children, and stepped out into the dimly lit streets. The market was already busy with vendors setting up their stalls, the smell of freshly baked food mixing with the scent of exotic fruits and metals. Tira approached a small workshop, hoping to find any odd job she could do. The owner, a middle-aged Xitherian, shook his head almost before she finished speaking. "I'm sorry, Tira," he said. "I don't have work today, and even if I did, I have too many others I must consider first." Tira's shoulders slumped. She forced herself to smile politely, thanked him, and walked away. Hunger gnawed at her stomach and worry pressed heavily against her chest. She couldn't let her children go without food, not today. As she wandered, her eyes caught a commotion at a nearby plaza. A section of the city had lost power, and the humans she had seen yesterday were helping the stranded citizens. Tira approached cautiously. The human who had helped the child before was there, working alongside a team to restore energy to the plaza. His name, she later learned, was Ethan. Tira hesitated. Should she approach him? Could a human truly understand the struggles of a Zetharian single mother? And yet desperation overrode caution. She stepped forward, her children following closely behind. Ethan noticed them immediately. His eyes, bright and observant, assessed the situation quickly. "Are you all right?" he asked, voice calm but commanding. Tira explained their situation briefly, careful not to exaggerate. Ethan listened, nodding thoughtfully. "This is dangerous," he said, gesturing to the unstable power grid. "But I think I can help you. Come with me." For the first time in many weeks, Tira felt a glimmer of hope. She didn't fully understand the human's ways, but there was something reassuring about Ethan's presence. He moved with confidence, yet there was kindness in his eyes that made her trust him instinctively. The group worked tirelessly through the day, restoring power to the plaza. Tira observed, learning quickly and assisting wherever she could. Ethan noticed her intelligence and resourcefulness. By the end of the day, the energy flow was stable, and the citizens of Xylar cheered the human team for their efforts. Ethan turned to Tira, a serious expression on his face. "You have skill and determination," he said. "Most people in your position would have given up. If you're willing, I have a project that could use someone like you. It's not easy and it's not guaranteed to work, but I think you could succeed." Tira blinked in surprise. "A project?" she asked cautiously. "Yes," Ethan replied. "I'm working on a citywide energy solution. I need creative thinkers, people who can see problems differently. You've already shown me that you can do that. I want to give you a chance." Tira's heart raced. This could be the opportunity she had been waiting for, but fear lingered. Accepting meant stepping into a world she didn't fully understand, surrounded by humans who were strangers. And yet the chance to provide a stable life for her children was too important to ignore. After a long moment, Tira nodded. "I will try," she said, determination steady in her voice. "For my children, I will try." Ethan smiled, a mixture of pride and encouragement in his expression. "Good," he said. "We start tomorrow." That night, Tira returned to her small apartment, her children buzzing with questions about what lay ahead. She told them simply, "Tomorrow things may change for us. I hope it will be better, but we must work hard and be brave." Her children's eyes shone with excitement and hope. For the first time in months, Tira allowed herself to believe that a brighter future might be possible. As she lay down to rest, she reflected on the events of the past 2 days. She had seen humans not as strange outsiders, but as allies and problem solvers. She had been given a chance, something rare for someone in her position. And though the path ahead was uncertain, Tira felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: possibility. Outside her window, the city lights flickered, a mixture of alien technology and human ingenuity. Tira knew that tomorrow would bring challenges, but for the first time she was ready to face them head-on. She closed her eyes, holding her children close, and let herself dream of a life where survival wasn't constant struggle, where hope was not just an abstract idea but a living, breathing reality. And somewhere deep in her heart, she knew that humans, strange, unpredictable, and resilient, might just be the key to that new life. The next morning, Tira woke before the suns had fully risen, her mind buzzing with nervous energy. Today was the first day of her new life, the day that might finally change everything for her and her children. She dressed quickly, checking on her children to make sure they were fed and ready. Their excitement was contagious, but it also made her heart ache. Could she really live up to this chance? Could she be the person Ethan believed her to be? When she arrived at the project site, she was struck by its scale. The facility was enormous, filled with machines and panels that hummed softly, each one part of the city's energy network. Humans and aliens worked side by side, moving efficiently and speaking in a mix of languages and gestures. Tira felt small and unsure. She had never worked in such a high-tech environment. Her experience was limited, and her species' methods were different from the humans' structured approaches. Ethan greeted her with a warm smile. "Tira, welcome," he said. "I know this is overwhelming. Take your time, observe, and don't be afraid to ask questions." Tira nodded, grateful for his patience. She stepped cautiously into the heart of the facility, noting the machines that monitored energy flow across the city. Panels flashed with numbers and graphs, and robotic assistants moved smoothly, carrying supplies and tools. It was a lot to take in, but Tira's mind began working immediately, analyzing and comparing what she saw with what she knew. Ethan introduced her to the team, a mix of humans and aliens from different worlds. Some looked at her skeptically, unsure why a single Zetherian mother with no formal experience had been chosen for such an important project. Others were curious, smiling politely and nodding. Tira felt a small pang of self-doubt but reminded herself of Ethan's words. "You can do this." The first task was simple, or so it seemed. The team needed to stabilize one of the city's energy circuits that had been erratic since the last power surge. Tira watched the human engineers, noting how they followed strict procedures, measuring, calculating, and double-checking. She tried to mimic their methods but quickly realized that her Zytherian way of thinking was different. Where humans relied on step-by-step analysis, she thought in patterns and possibilities, seeing connections that others missed. "Don't be afraid to try it your way," Ethan whispered when he saw her hesitation. "Sometimes the solution isn't in following the steps perfectly, but in seeing what everyone else misses." Tira took a deep breath and examined the circuit from a new perspective. She noticed a small overlooked feedback loop that caused the instability. With careful hands, she adjusted it, her mind racing through possible outcomes. When the panel stabilized and the warning lights disappeared, the team looked at her in surprise. "You did that?" one human engineer asked, eyebrows raised. "Yes," Tira replied softly, feeling a spark of pride. "It was just a small adjustment." Ethan clapped a hand on her shoulder. "It wasn't small," he said with a grin. "You just saved hours of work. Well done." For the first time in a long while, Tira felt a sense of accomplishment that went beyond survival. She had contributed something meaningful, and her unique way of thinking had made a difference. Her confidence grew, even as she realized the work ahead would be far more challenging. Over the next few days, Tira learned more about the project and the humans she worked with. They were curious, creative, and sometimes chaotic, but they valued ingenuity above rigid rules. Tira found herself thriving in this environment, her Zetherian intuition complementing the human structured methods. She began to propose small changes, adjustments that improved efficiency and safety. Slowly, the skeptical glances from other team members turned into nods of approval. Her children, too, were adjusting. Tira had arranged for a caretaker to watch them while she worked, and they began attending a small interspecies school nearby. They returned home with stories of new friends and strange games played with alien and human children alike. Watching them adapt reminded Tira why she had fought so hard for this chance. Their laughter and curiosity filled her small apartment with warmth, even after the long days at the facility. One afternoon, while reviewing a new section of the energy grid, Tira noticed something unusual. A pattern in the energy flow suggested that a rival corporation might be attempting to sabotage the city's system. Her pulse quickened as she traced the anomalies, realizing the potential danger. If left unchecked, it could cause massive blackouts and even endanger lives. She approached Ethan cautiously. "I think someone is interfering with the system," she said, showing him the data. Ethan's face darkened as he studied the readings. "This is serious," he said. "We need to act quickly before it escalates." Tira worked alongside Ethan and the team to develop a plan. They divided tasks, monitored the circuits, and reinforced weak points. Tira's insight into the unusual patterns proved invaluable. She suggested countermeasures that the humans had not considered, blending her analytical skills with their technology. The situation tested her in ways she had never imagined. Long hours, high pressure, and the fear of failure pressed down on her. Yet she pushed forward, fueled by determination and the thought of her children waiting for her safe return. By the end of the day, the sabotage attempt was thwarted. The energy flow stabilized and the city's lights shone brightly once more. The team celebrated quietly, grateful for Tira's quick thinking and bravery. Even the most skeptical engineers acknowledged her contribution. "You've done more than I ever expected," Ethan said as they stood together, watching the city glow. "You've shown not just skill but courage. That's what makes you extraordinary." Tira felt a warmth spread through her chest. For the first time, she felt truly seen. not just as a struggling mother, but as someone capable of making a real difference. She realized that her life was no longer defined solely by hardship. She had the chance to shape it, to contribute, and to inspire others. The days that followed brought more challenges and triumphs. Tira learned new technologies, developed friendships, and even introduced small improvements to the project that increased efficiency. She became known for her creativity, her ability to think outside the box, and her unwavering dedication. Yet, she remained grounded. Every evening she returned to her children, sharing stories of her day and listening to theirs. They spoke of human friends, alien classmates, and small adventures in the city. Tira realized that their lives were intertwined with hers in ways that made every effort meaningful. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was thriving, building a future that had once seemed impossible. One night, as she prepared her children for bed, she reflected on how far she had come. From the desperate walks through the market to her first day in the facility, every step had led her here. She had faced uncertainty, fear, and skepticism, yet she had persevered. And through it all, a human had offered her a chance. Not charity, but an opportunity to prove herself. Ethan had seen what others had overlooked, her determination, her intelligence, and her potential. And Tira had seized that chance, transforming it into something greater than she had imagined. As she watched her children drift into sleep, Tira allowed herself a small smile. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new lessons, and perhaps new dangers. But she was ready. For the first time, she believed in herself and in the possibilities of the future. The city outside her window pulsed with life, a mixture of alien technology and human ingenuity. Tira knew that her journey was only beginning, that the path ahead would be filled with both obstacles and victories. Yet she also knew that she was no longer alone, and that even in a galaxy filled with uncertainty, hope, and courage could create a new life. And somewhere deep inside, Tira felt a quiet gratitude. For the humans who dared to think differently, for the chance to rise above struggle, and for the opportunity to become the person she had always hoped to be. Her life had changed, and with it, the lives of her children. They would grow up seeing not just survival, but possibility. And Tira, once a jobless and struggling mother, had taken her first steps into a world where her skills, heart, and determination could shine. Weeks passed, and Tira had begun to find her rhythm in the facility. Her skills were improving every day, and her confidence grew as she realized how much she could contribute. Ethan continued to mentor her, guiding her through complex tasks and encouraging her creative approaches. Tira had earned the respect of her teammates, even the most skeptical among them who now sought her advice on tricky problems. But with success came new challenges. The energy project had begun attracting attention from rival corporations and less scrupulous entities who wanted to control Xylar's power network for profit. Small disruptions and unusual readings began appearing in the system. At first they seemed like minor glitches easily corrected, but Tira's sharp mind noticed a pattern. These disturbances were too consistent to be accidental. One morning, as she reviewed the latest energy flow reports, Tira's stomach twisted with concern. The anomalies were increasing in both frequency and intensity. A rival company, she realized, might be attempting sabotage. The thought made her pulse quicken. If they succeeded, it could plunge entire districts into darkness, endanger lives, and undo all the progress she and her team had worked for. Tira immediately brought her concerns to Ethan. He studied her findings carefully, his brow furrowing. "You might be right," he said slowly. "This is more serious than I feared. We need to act fast before it escalates." Together they devised a plan. Tira's understanding of patterns and her ability to predict the behavior of the sabotage proved invaluable. She suggested countermeasures that none of the human engineers had considered. Ethan listened intently, clearly impressed. "You have a unique perspective," he said. "We need to use it." For the next several days, Tira and the team worked tirelessly. They monitored circuits, reinforced weak points, and implemented protective measures across the city's energy grid. Tira often worked late into the night, fueled by determination and the thought of her children safe at home. She felt the weight of responsibility more than ever, but it pushed her to think faster, act smarter, and trust her instincts. One evening, while reviewing the system from the control center, Tira noticed an unexpected surge in a district she had just stabilized. Her heart leapt. The saboteurs were testing the new defenses. She called Ethan immediately, explaining the situation. Together, they coordinated the team to counteract the surge, using Tira's adjustments as the foundation. The team worked in perfect coordination, but tension was high. Every second counted, and a single mistake could have catastrophic consequences. Tira's hands moved with precision, adjusting nodes and rerouting energy flows. Her mind raced, calculating outcomes and anticipating problems. Her human and alien colleagues followed her guidance, trusting her judgment. After tense hours, the surge was contained. The lights of the city remained steady, and the threat was temporarily neutralized. The team exhaled in relief, some of them smiling despite exhaustion. Ethan turned to Tira, his expression a mix of pride and awe. "You did it," he said quietly. "You saved the district and possibly lives. Your instincts, your quick thinking, it all made the difference." Tira's chest swelled with a mixture of relief and pride. She realized that this was more than a job now. It was a responsibility she bore for the people of Xylar, for her children and for herself. She had transformed from a struggling mother into someone capable of making a real impact. But the relief was short-lived. Over the next few days, the sabotage attempts became bolder and more frequent. Tira realized that the saboteurs were not just testing the system, they were trying to break it completely. Panic and uncertainty began to ripple through the team, but Tira refused to succumb to fear. She worked harder than ever, analyzing patterns, predicting attacks, and coordinating defensive strategies. One night, a critical failure occurred in a major energy hub. Alarms blared, lights flickered, and a wave of panic swept through the facility. Tira sprang into action, leading the team through a series of complex maneuvers to stabilize the grid. Her knowledge of the city's energy flow and her unique ability to see hidden connections allowed her to identify the source of the disruption quickly. Ethan stayed by her side, guiding the team and keeping morale high. Together they worked like a well-oiled machine, combining human ingenuity with Tira's exceptional insight. After hours of intense effort, the energy hub stabilized, the alarm silenced, and the lights of the city shone steadily once more. The team was exhausted but triumphant. Tira's colleagues, both human and alien, surrounded her with congratulations and praise. Even those who had doubted her abilities from the start now recognized her value. She had proven herself not just capable but indispensable. That night, Tira returned home to her children. They had been cared for by a trusted neighbor while she worked, and they rushed to her with hugs and excited chatter. Their eyes shone with admiration, unaware of the full danger their mother had faced, but they sensed her courage and strength. Tira held them close, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment and connection. Over the next weeks, Tira continued to lead the defense against the sabotage attempts. Each challenge tested her skills, creativity, and courage. She discovered new ways to combine Xytherian intuition with human technology, creating solutions that no one else had thought of. She learned to trust her instincts even when others doubted her methods, and she grew more confident with each success. Her children thrived alongside her, learning to adapt and embrace the diversity of the city. They made friends from different species, attended school, and participated in small community projects. Tira took pride in their resilience and curiosity, knowing that the lessons they learned now would serve them well in the future. Ethan continued to mentor Tira, but he also became a close friend and supporter. He recognized not only her talent but also her courage, compassion, and dedication. Together they faced each new challenge, forming a partnership built on trust and mutual respect. Despite the constant pressure, Tira felt a growing sense of purpose. She was no longer defined solely by her struggles or her role as a mother. She had become a problem solver, a leader, and a protector. Her work had a tangible impact on the lives of countless citizens, and she felt proud of every step she had taken to get here. One day, after successfully preventing another sabotage attempt, Ethan gathered the team together. "I want to acknowledge Tira," he said, his voice carrying through the control room. "Her insight, determination, and courage have saved this city more times than I can count. She is an example of what is possible when we embrace diversity, creativity, and resilience." "Thank you, Tira." Tira felt a warmth spread through her chest. She had never imagined that her life could reach this point. From struggling to survive to becoming a trusted and respected member of a critical project, her journey had been extraordinary. She looked around at her team, smiling at the humans and aliens who had become her colleagues, friends, and supporters. That evening, as she returned home, Tira reflected on the changes in her life. The city outside her window shimmered with light, a testament to human ingenuity, alien intelligence, and collaboration. Her children were asleep, dreaming of adventures she could only imagine. She quietly thanked Ethan for giving her a chance not just to survive, but to thrive. Tira knew the path ahead would continue to be filled with challenges. Sabotage attempts might return, technology could fail, and new problems would arise. But she also knew that she was no longer alone, and that she had the skills, courage, and determination to face whatever came next. She sat by the window, watching the city pulse with life, and allowed herself a rare moment of pride. Her journey from a jobless, struggling mother to a key member of a city-saving project had been difficult, but it was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of possibilities, and she was ready to embrace them. Tira realized that her story was no longer about mere survival. It was about growth, courage, and the remarkable potential that existed within her and others like her. She had discovered that humans were not the only ones capable of extraordinary resilience, but that together, humans and aliens could achieve something truly remarkable. As the night deepened and the stars shone brightly over Xylar, Tira made a silent promise to herself. She would continue to fight, to learn, and to grow, for her children, for herself, and for the city that had become her new home. She would face every challenge with strength, intelligence, and unwavering courage. Her life had changed forever. She was no longer the mother struggling to survive. She was a protector, a problem solver, and a symbol of hope, and she knew that with determination, creativity, and the willingness to take chances, she could overcome any obstacle the galaxy placed before her. The weeks that followed the sabotage crisis were some of the busiest and most intense of Tira's life. The city's energy network was stronger than ever, but rival factions were persistent. Tira, now recognized as an essential part of Ethan's team, spent long hours analyzing data, designing improvements, and coordinating with human and alien engineers alike. She had become confident in her skills and methods, but she knew the stakes were higher than ever. One morning, Ethan called her into the main control room. His expression was serious. "Tira, we've detected a coordinated attack. This isn't just a test anymore. Someone is planning to disrupt the energy grid citywide. We need to stop them before it's too late." Tira's heart raced. She had faced sabotage before, but this felt different, more organized, more dangerous. She nodded, taking a deep breath. "We can do it," she said firmly. "We just need a plan and to act quickly." Ethan and Tira worked side by side, reviewing the patterns of previous disruptions and predicting the attackers' next moves. Tira noticed subtle irregularities that others overlooked, connecting dots that seemed unrelated. Her Xytherian intuition, combined with the humans' technical expertise, allowed them to anticipate where the attack would hit first. The team divided responsibilities. Some engineers monitored specific districts, others reinforced vulnerable circuits, and Tira oversaw the overall strategy. She moved through the facility with calm efficiency, giving clear instructions and adjusting plans as new data arrived. Her leadership inspired confidence. Even those who had doubted her at first now followed her guidance without hesitation. Hours passed and tension mounted. The first wave of attacks struck the outskirts of the city, causing brief blackouts. Tira and the team acted immediately, rerouting power and stabilizing the grid. Each success was met with relief, but they knew the worst was yet to come. The attackers' main target was the central hub, the heart of the city's energy system. As the team prepared for the final challenge, Tira felt a surge of determination. This was her moment, to protect the city, her children, and everyone who relied on the network she had helped strengthen. She remembered why she had started this journey, the desire to create a better life for her children and to prove that she was more than just a struggling mother. The attack on the central hub was intense. Alarms blared, lights flickered, and robotic systems overloaded. Tira moved quickly, identifying the critical points of failure and directing engineers to stabilize them. She coordinated reroutes, activated emergency protocols, and adjusted power flows with precision. Every action required split-second decisions, and the pressure was immense. Ethan stayed close, monitoring systems and providing support. "You're doing incredible," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Keep going. We can handle this." Tira worked tirelessly, her mind sharp and focused. She anticipated problems before they occurred, combining her Zetherian intuition with the technical methods she had learned from humans. Slowly, the central hub stabilized. Alarms ceased, lights returned, and the city's energy network was secure once more. The team erupted in cheers, exhaustion, and relief mixing in their voices. Tira allowed herself a small smile, feeling a deep sense of pride. She had faced one of the greatest challenges of her life and emerged successful. Her efforts had protected the city and countless lives, proving her worth beyond any doubt. After the crisis, Ethan gathered the team for a debrief. "I want to acknowledge Tira," he said, his eyes scanning the room. "Her insight, leadership, and bravery were crucial to our success. She showed that determination, creativity, and courage can overcome even the most formidable obstacles. Tira, you've set an example for all of us." Tira felt warmth spread through her chest. She had worked hard, faced fear, and pushed herself to the limit. But more than that, she realized that she had grown in ways she had never imagined. She was no longer defined by her struggles or her status as a single mother. She was a leader, a problem solver, and a protector. Returning home that evening, Tira was greeted by her children with hugs and laughter. Their eyes shone with admiration, and they peppered her with questions about her day. She smiled, feeling the weight of responsibility lift slightly in the warmth of their presence. For them, she had not only survived but triumphed. Days turned into weeks, and life gradually settled into a new rhythm. The energy project continued to thrive, with Tira at the center of many of its successes. She introduced new systems, streamlined operations, and shared her knowledge with colleagues, human and alien alike. Her work had become a symbol of collaboration and innovation, showing that diverse perspectives could achieve extraordinary results. Tira also took time to teach her children what she had learned. They spent evenings learning about science, technology, and problem-solving. She encouraged their curiosity, teaching them that mistakes were opportunities and challenges were chances to grow. Her children flourished under her guidance, becoming confident and capable in their own ways. Ethan often visited their home, offering advice, encouragement, and friendship. Over time, Tira realized that their partnership had become something deeper than mentorship. He respected her abilities, admired her courage, and valued her perspective. Together, they had faced incredible challenges and grown stronger as a team. One evening, as Tira watched the city lights shimmer across Zylar's skyline, she reflected on her journey. She had started as a struggling, jobless mother, unsure of how to provide for her children. She had faced doubt, fear, and countless obstacles. Yet through perseverance, courage, and the guidance of a human who believed in her, she had transformed her life. She thought of her children, now thriving and happy, and felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Their laughter and joy were proof that her efforts had been worth it. She had not only provided for them, but had shown them the value of determination, intelligence, and resilience. Tira knew that her story was no longer just about survival. It was about growth, courage, and the power of collaboration. Humans were remarkable, she realized, not because they were perfect, but because they dared to take chances, to see potential where others saw limitations, and to value creativity and determination above all else. Her own abilities had been strengthened by working with them, and together they had achieved something extraordinary. Tira had discovered that humans and aliens, each with their unique strengths, could create a future that was brighter and stronger than any one species could achieve alone. As the sun set over Zylar, Tira felt a sense of peace and accomplishment. She had faced fear, uncertainty, and danger, and she had prevailed. Her journey was far from over, but she was ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. She had proven to herself, her children, and the galaxy that she was capable of greatness. Her life had changed completely. She was no longer the mother struggling to survive. She was a protector, a problem solver, and a symbol of hope. She had taken a chance, embraced opportunity, and transformed her life. And in doing so, she had created a path for her children to grow, thrive, and believe in themselves. The city pulsed with life beneath her window, a testament to human ingenuity, alien intelligence, and the power of collaboration. Tira knew that there would always be challenges, obstacles, and threats, but she also knew that she had the courage, skill, and determination to face them. She would continue to rise, adapt, and thrive no matter what the galaxy threw her way. And as she looked at her sleeping children, their faces peaceful and content, Tira smiled. She had been given a chance and she had seized it. She had built a new life, not just for herself but for the ones she loved most. The journey had been difficult, filled with struggle and uncertainty, but it had led her to a place of strength, confidence, and hope. Tira whispered quietly to herself, a promise and a declaration. She would continue to fight, to learn, and to grow. She would protect her children, her city, and her new life. And she would show the galaxy what was possible when courage, determination, and collaboration met opportunity. Her story, once defined by struggle, was now defined by triumph. She was no longer just a mother seeking survival. She was a leader, a problem solver, and a shining example of the extraordinary potential within every being, human or alien, willing to take a chance and embrace the future. Tira had found her new life, and in doing so, she had discovered that with hope, courage, and determination, the impossible could become reality.